What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Braun Bafflestone, and today we are having another episode of my review and rating series, where we look at various game mechanics and compare them to their alternatives. So, a few notes before we begin. One, Key Book Club, awesome book summaries that will definitely help you learn stuff in 10 or 15 minutes. Highly recommended. Check out the link below. Two, I want to apologize for getting off on the wrong foot with my last video on Order of Scribes. I had categorized it as a deep dive, but it was pointed out to me that my deep dives tend to be about optimization and getting the most out of stuff, whereas this was more of like a review. And I think that was a cogent criticism, and I do agree that it was a much different flavor. So I am retroactively making that part of the review and rating series, and I'm going to tell you now that this is just about talking about my thoughts about this particular subdomain and its abilities relative to the others. If you're interested in optimization, check out the other videos that I'm going to be doing very soon, where I do actually take deep dives into the Scribe and the Bladesinger and talk about how to optimize them and play them to their maximum advantage. So many apologies for that. And then finally, in regards to the Bladesinger gets a lot of love. When I was doing my research for this video, I found a lot of guides, a lot of videos, a lot of discussion on the various gaming forums. And so I recognize there are a lot of Bladesingers out there, and this subdomain gets a lot of attention. And so I wanted to mention that when I am doing these reviews and ratings, what I'm doing is comparing them to their alternatives in a type of opportunity cost analysis. And that can get pretty granular. And so it's easy to forget that when we zoom out, that these are just kind of nuances that are all built on a larger kit. In this case, the Wizard kit. And the Wizard kit by itself is absolutely amazing for power gamers. I know this well because I myself have played an enchanter for over a year in an Underdark campaign where literally everything is immune to my subdomain abilities. So I have learned to be very effective just with the base Wizard kit because I can hardly ever use my powers. And so when I say that the Order of Scribes, for example, is rated poor, that just means relative to chronergists and diviners and abjurers and such. That doesn't mean that it's inferior to, say, rogues or barbarians or monks or some such. Any of these subdomains is viable for a power gamer just because the Wizard kit is so strong. The Order of Scribes is only rated poor relative to the other subdomains. So just something to keep in mind as we move on, because let's take a look at the Bladesinger. I have put the description of the class or the subdomain on the screen, and we can see right away that it's awesome. It's a full Wizard kit that is apparently going to get powers that allow it to use a sword. That gets me right here, because this really harkens back to 1st and 2nd edition, which were all about multi-classing, and I have spent thousands of hours playing fighter wizards. And so I really appreciate that they're putting this out there to give some of that flavor, because ever since 3rd edition, which basically killed the obvious benefits of multi-classing, I haven't really played that style. And so, man, we're off to a good start thematically from my perspective, because I love that there's a subdomain where they're attempting to do this sort of thing. So hopefully the powers hold up. Let's take a look at their 2nd level powers that they get right away, that defines and are the signature powers of the Bladesinger: Training in War and Song and Blade Song. So Training in War and Song gives a bonus proficiency in performance, gives you light armor proficiency and a weapon, which is good and necessary, because if you're going to be using a sword, you should probably know how to use it, and wizards don't get any weapons or many weapons or armor to start out. Now some races do get a weapon, like the classic elf gets the longsword and such, but if you are not going to be playing an elf, it's nice to be able to take a rapier. I think is probably the best choice for a weapon. And then we have Blade Song. This is pretty darn good, right? We look at it and we see that it confers bonuses to armor class, to concentration checks, to your movement speed, and to your acrobatics. And I like all of these, right? The additional movement is fantastic because that increases your maneuverability, and I'm a huge fan of powerful maneuverability options, as per my video on maneuverability. I actually like the fact that you get advantage on dexterity checks, or on acrobatic checks, because I'm a defensive-oriented player who likes to have a collection of specific defenses for specific offenses, and one of those is grappling. And so to have acrobatic advantage makes me pretty slippery. So I actually like having that specific defense. And then, of course, having benefits to your armor class and concentration are pretty self-explanatorily awesome for wizards. Now, I do want to put it in perspective. If we combine their light armor proficiency and their Bladesong bonus to AC, it essentially is a temporary heavy armor proficiency. And if we look at the concentration ability, it's essentially kind of like a combination of Warcaster and Resilient, but is stackable. So this ability confers like 2 or 3 feats worth of abilities. And even though it's temporary, and even though you only get a proficiency times per day, that is pretty sweet. And I'm really liking Bladesong. Now, when I rate it against other powers, though, I have to just give it an average. Because as much as I like Bladesong, the other subdomains get really amazing abilities at 2nd level. So as good as Bladesong is it really better than Portent? Is it really better than the combination of Temporal Awareness and Chronal Shift? Is it really better than the combination of Tactical Wit and Arcane Deflection? No. So, it occupies that solid middle tier of average powers, which is not to say it's not good. I mean, I like Bladesong quite a bit, but just compared to the other amazing abilities that other subdomains get, it's average. So at 6th level, they get extra attack. And this is a little boring, I guess, but as someone who's going to be slinging a sword, you're going to want extra attack. And 6th level isn't really a banner level for wizard subdomain powers. And so when we rate extra attack against other subdomain powers, it holds up pretty good. It is solidly average. And I'm very happy to get it, because if I'm slinging a sword, by this level, hopefully I'll have a good magic one. And as I gain in levels, it'll just become wickeder and wickeder. And an extra attack with it is going to be pretty sweet. Then we look at the 10th level power, Song of Defense. And now I'm starting to get a little disappointed because this is not that great because of the opportunity cost. I mean, you have to give up spell slots as a full wizard. That hurts. And so you're probably not going to want to be using this all that often. I mean, if you are at 1 hit point, obviously it's going to be very helpful. But when I stack it up against the other subdomain powers of 10th level, it's not super impressive. So I have to give it a poor rating. And then when I look at the 14th level ability, Song of Victory, this is not so bad. Again, pretty solid average, although weird in that I think it occupies its own tier, with the other powers either being clearly either better or worse. But at this point, you're probably going to be having like 4 attacks per round or something. So an additional 5 damage on each one of those can add up. And it's pretty solid for a fighter wizard type. So I'll take it, but it's, again, not that impressive relative to the other domain powers. So it looks like I've got an average, poor, and poor. And so when I put this class up against the other subdomains as a whole, I have to give it an overall poor rating. But again, this is just relative to the other subdomains. It's still built on a full wizard kit. It's still an amazing subdomain to power game. And I have to be perfectly honest, I'm almost certain that this is going to be my next character. As I said, really love it thematically. And currently I'm playing a Hide Wizard who is heavily optimized for, not taking damage and stuff. And it's very effective. I don't know, my DM's not watching this, but more or less invincible at this point, and it's cool. I like that. That was like a goal of mine that I always set out to do. But it's a kind of a boring way to play. And so I'm definitely looking forward to trying something different next time out. And this is just totally different, right? The Bladesinger. Now, you can play the Bladesinger as a regular, wizard that just kind of hangs out in the back and does his thing. I don't think that really maximizes the subdomain. It's, kind of like just throws half the powers away, and it doesn't really fit it thematically, I think. So, like, I feel like if you're going to play that sort of play style, I don't know why you would want to take the Bladesinger, even though Bladesong is pretty juicy. I feel like if you're going to take the Bladesinger, you should swing a sword, man. So I really like this subclass, and it's going to be a bigger challenge for me to optimize it. I'm going to be taking lots of different spells that my previous character or current character uses. So it seems like a really fun class to play. I think it can be very powerful. And so I really look forward to the video that I'm going to be doing soon about how to optimize this character and what spells to take at each level and feats and such, because I'm, kind of getting a jump start on creating my own next character. So very excited for that. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on the Bladesinger. Please let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments, and feel free to contribute any stories or, illuminating comments and nuances about the Bladesinger, because I know there's a lot of people that love this class and have thought deeply about it, more deeply than I have. And in any case, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bill Braun Bafflestone. See you next time.